Welcome everybody to a Geek Dad special report. Wait, what are you doing? You playing with Pokemon cards?
My 7-year-old got a whole bunch of Pokemon cards today, and he left them all on my desk, and I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. So I was just like, he got a route.
Oh my god! Seriously, I'm trying to give an intro. I'm trying to introduce our special edition, and you're playing freaking Pokemon.
I'm not playing. I'm just looking at my kid's cards.
You are clearly playing Pokemon. Do not lie.
You got expensive Pokemon cards. You got
Yep.
like a EX card that's worth like $15 or something like that.
Do you have a Pog? You gonna slammer it? You got any Pogs over there too?
Dude, there's nothing wrong with Pokemon. Got a Pokemon.
You're right. I never got into Pokemon. That was a little past, after my time.
Hey, you just wait. Your daughter's gonna come home wanting some stupid card game. Oh, dude, he got Pikachu. Pikachu.
Pikachu!
Yeah,
You ever seen those chinchillas, dude? They look like little miniature Pikachus. Pretty cool.
I don't know all of them.
No,
I just know the ones that he gets obsessed over.
no, a chinchilla is a live animal. It's like a real thing.
Oh,
They're like from
Whatever.
Brazil or something. I don't know, man.
there's no chinchilla Pokemon.
It's a chinchilla
I don't know what
Pokemon.
you're talking
All
about.
right, I can't really make fun, dude. I collected all the Star Wars like trading. Well, they weren't trading cards. They were like a game. They tried to like fight.
Yeah, that's
I don't
right.
know.
You don't mess
Wizards
with
of
me.
the
Hey,
Coast.
weren't we like recording about?
Yeah, we're
something
recording.
else?
Okay, so we before we got derailed by Ryan's Pokemon and my decipher
Sorry.
Star Wars.
Not mine. It's my
Star Wars
child.
magic cards.
I just go through
what are
his
we here
deck to
for?
make
Do
sure.
you know what we're here for? Should we pretend like we should start all over again? All right, start.
No.
All right.
I'm gonna disappear.
You're gonna disappear? No, don't disappear. All right. Hello, everybody. Yeah, that sound is me clapping. All right, starting again. Boom! Hey! Welcome everybody
Yes.
to a
I
Geek
can
Dad
decide.
special reports. Me and Ryan are here to talk about one thing, one amazing thing,
One thing only.
and one thing only. What are we talking about tonight, Ryan?
Ant-Man.
That
the
is
new
right.
Marvel movie. That was.
This movie. Well, not this shirt, but this Marvel. It's the Hulk and Iron Man. We are here to talk about Marvel's Ant-Man, the newest Marvel movie that is hitting theaters Friday, I believe.
Friday, July 17th.
Well, it can't be 7th. That was last week, so July 17th.
Yeah, so 17th.
Yeah, well, we're not playing quiet. Yes, it hits the theaters Friday, July 17th, and you should go see it. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next. No,
Yeah.
no, this movie, I don't know about you, Ryan, but I thought it was awesome. It is a great movie.
There is a reason why I would contain. I saw it on Monday night, and Brian saw it on Tuesday night. So for like a whole 24-hour time period, I had to not really talk to Brian and like contain all of my excitement and until you finally got to see it. So and it was so good. It was so funny. I really loved the dialogue that was in this movie.
Yeah.
And Edgar White got even though he was originally one of the going to be directing it, but he left because of creative differences. He still gets the writing credit and everything for it. So
Yeah, well, in this movie, definitely, it has his fingerprints all over it. But real quick, before we get into further, I do want to give everyone kind of a disclaimer. Me and Ryan aren't going to go too deep into the movie. We're not going to spill any major plot points or give away any of the, the stinger stuff for the most part. But we are going to talk about the movie, so if you want to know absolutely nothing about this movie, then you should still watch our podcast. Or
I'm not going to tell you how the Hulk
show.
comes in, puny ants, and the
We're not going to talk
Hulk
about
is
the Hulk or how you found out Hank Pym was a mutant or any of that cool stuff. But no, that's true.
We won't spoil any of that stuff.
We won't give it away, but we're definitely going to be kind of geeking out about it, and we'll be talking about a lot of this. Anything that's in the trailers is kind of fair game, and we're going to be talking about that stuff. So you have been warned. That said,
Yes.
I'm with you. I absolutely love this movie. This might be the funnest Marvel movie I have seen yet.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Even more than like when the first Iron Mans came out, and those kind of like set the stage. And Iron Man was pretty funny, when he was like in his suit and he's like all partying and dancing and stuff like that. But This just kind of takes it to a whole new level where
Well,
it's just
yeah, and I
the
think this movie, I think the reason why it does is because it's not I mean, it's a comic book movie, but it's not your typical Marvel movie. I mean, they've all had this underlying sense of humor for the most part. Even movies like Age of Ultron and Winter Soldier that were darker still had a fair amount of humor in them. This, to me, is actually a comedy. For my money, this
yeah.
is Marvel's first comedy movie. In the way that movies like Rush Hour are comedies, where it's a funny movie that also has action and adventure and stuff like that. I mean, I didn't stop laughing the entire movie from the start to the end. I was just dying.
Yeah, there's so much just good dialogue, and Paul Rudd,
Oh, he
like,
nails his lines. Just
he
nails them.
nailed his lines, and they're just the way the movie is essentially written for Paul Rudd, and if he didn't, like change dialogue or do anything like that for what his lines were, then I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't change it at least a little bit to kind of make it more, put his personality into it.
Mm-hmm.
But oh gosh, it was so good. It was,
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard that Ant-Man was going to close out Marvel's Phase 2 and not Age of Ultron, which it seemed kind of strange to me, and I thought, it seemed an odd choice from Kevin Feige to make Ant-Man the kind of, I don't know, the redheaded stepchild of all these movies that just nobody knows really anything about. No one's ever
sealing the deal.
Yeah, that he was going to be the one that was really going to put a cap on this very epic Phase 2. I thought it's kind of a strange choice, but honestly, now that I've seen Age of Ultron and now that I've seen Ant-Man, it was a perfect choice. In some ways, this is kind of like a palate cleanse. It's almost like your sorbet after dinner.
Yeah, because Age of Ultron, they're dropping whole cities on people and stuff like that, which even gets mentioned, in Ant-Man.
Yeah, when I was watching Age of Ultron, I mean, I think we talked about in our review that we did was that as much as I loved it, I was kind of wondering where Marvel was going to go from here because Age of Ultron is so epic and so grand and so many things happen that I thought, what do they have left to really show us? And then they give us Ant-Man, which is something completely different. I mean, I don't know, was this 13 movies now Marvel's done, and this is completely different than anything they've ever done. And it's, like I said, I think it's funner than Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a better overall movie than Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was completely surprised by Guardians of the Galaxy how much I like that one. So, I mean, this is. And it's definitely funner than Age of Ultron. It's a lot funner. It's not dark at all.
One of the first ones where I sat down, when I was sitting down, I looked at Kyle, our film critic that went with me, and said, I'm sitting here, I have zero expectations for this movie. I have no idea where it's coming, like where it's going. Like, I saw one of the trailers, and I would just fully prepare for it. Just let the movie just be whatever it is. And then I was so surprised by how good it was.
Yeah, it was. Well,
and like you said, it was a perfect palate cleanser. So now we have, it's probably going to be, Captain America 3. That's the next one. The Civil War, which is going to have tons of people in it, like tons of people from the Marvel universe is going to be in it. So this is a nice, like you said, it's a good palate cleanser. We got through Age of Ultron. We got a nice, funny movie, and then I think they're probably going to be dropping right back into the more serious tone with Captain America 3.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, and in some ways that's what kind of makes this movie great is it doesn't have the weight of the entire franchise on its shoulders, and in some ways, I think part of the reason why Age of Ultron was kind of so dark and felt kind of weighted, that was a lot of people's criticism, is because it had the entire franchise of these Marvel movies that all kind of built up to this point, and it really felt like 11 movies worth of plot lines and storylines all kind of tying into this, where Ant-Man does a great job of interconnecting with the Marvel Universe in a way that's not heavy-handed. It feels natural, and it's its own story. It's not a slave to the canon that the rest of the movies have done. I mean, it's there. I mean, there's obviously in the trailers they show Falcon, so there's he's in the movie. It's a
God, if they had not shown Falcon in the trailer,
how great would that have been?
That scene would have had people. I mean, people were kind of like they were, woo, when they saw him, but people would have been freaking out.
It's such a great scene. When you see the trailer and you think it's kind of just a cameo, like it might just show up or something. It's not. It's a full-on great scene. And yeah,
Mhm.
I think we were talking about that earlier this week. Is I didn't feel like Marvel needed to remind people that Ant-Man is part of the Marvel universe. It says Marvel, so it is at this point. But yeah, but it's a great scene. It's like I said, it's not heavy-handed. You definitely feel like this movie's part of the Marvel universe. And another thing I really liked is its connection, how it connected to Agents of Shield and Agent Carter. So this is kind of the first movie that really tied into the TV shows since the TV shows have been on TV now.
Which one was the Agent Carter tie-in? I didn't. I'm trying to
So
remember
remember
that.
at the very beginning, spoiler alert, people. This is the very beginning of the movie when Hank Pym goes to they're building the Triskelion right in the very beginning.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah, and Peggy Carter and
Yeah.
Howard Stark are there because they're the founders of Shield. And,
Yeah.
yep, they're there, and that was pretty cool. I thought that was a good tie-in. Yeah, and it was great. And Michael Douglas. Speaking of which, Hank Pym, one of the things I wasn't upset about, but I was kind of disappointed that Hank Pym wasn't going to be the star of this when I first found out about, Ant-Man, because, I grew up with the Avengers and a lot of the cartoons and Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Ant-Man is one of the main Avengers. I mean, in the comic books, he's the one who created Ultron, and I thought it'd been a great, way to tie him in and have him actually be it. And so, Scott Lang was always cool in the comics, but I thought, it's kind of sucks they're not going to have Hank Pym. I was completely wrong. The way that they did this, Scott Lang.
Michael Douglas did a great job, and you would not. I mean, it's for being a comic book movie and what the movie kind of is, and what you kind of know of Michael Douglas, as an actor, you don't really kind of. I didn't really see him in this kind of role, but in the movie, he was great as Hank Pym. And
Yeah. Oh yeah. He knocked it out of the park, and I thought it was the perfect. Honestly, Scott Lang was the perfect hero for the Marvel universe. We don't need another very smart, kind of brooding, hero who's like got the weight of the world on his shoulders. What we really need is kind of a guy who's just like, I'm Ant-Man. Let's do it.
He's mostly a criminal, and
Yeah, I mean, I guess to give a quick synopsis of the movie, if anybody's not sure what it's about, this is, basically. Paul Rudd is Scott Lang, and he's a career criminal who's a really good guy, but he just makes some bad choices, and he decides that he wants to go on the straight and narrow and provide for his daughter so he can see her and be part of her life, and things don't quite work out, and Hank Pym needs to recruit him to do a heist.
Because his employer, they always find out.
Yeah, yeah, because Baskin and Robbins always finds out. And he needs him for a heist, and so they go on a heist together to steal some technology that could threaten the world. So there's your basic premise. So this movie is a comedy heist action adventure, but it was a perfect entry point for this character. I mean, and like you said, Michael Douglas knocked it out of the park. He was great as Hank Pym, and he really was Hank Pym, just an older version.
And I really liked the like his partner. Shoot, what's the guy? The guy that did all the fast talking.
Oh, you disappeared. Ryan, you're gone. Oh, you're back. Yes.
Oh, I'm back. I turned off my video.
You went to the micro universe for a second.
Yes, I went subatomic.
He went subatomic.
His what is the guy's name? I can't think of his name for some damn. Huh?
For who? Whose name?
For his partner guy that like does all the fast talking.
Oh, Michael Pena?
Yeah.
Dude, he's hilarious.
He had some really great parts too in the movie.
If everybody wasn't so good, he probably would have stole the show. He was so funny.
Yeah, he was great. And it's just, I really didn't know anything about Ant-Man, going into it. And I feel like after watching that, I want to start reading some of the comics just to kind of get an idea. Because it was just really cool how they filmed it, because he's Ant-Man and, he's got all these, insects that help him do stuff. And and when he's doing all the training and, figuring out how to learning how to use the suit and that whole, scene was pretty fun.
And I like how they really incorporated the use of the ants in the movie. Like, I mean, he's Ant-Man for a reason, not just because he can turn, small. And I like how they took the time to show us all the different ants and what they can do, and then, tie it back into the movie. I don't know. Like I said, it was a perfect entry point for this character.
I still feel bad for Anthony. And
poor Anthony.
Poor Anthony.
Poor Anthony. Well, and what I was going to say, kind of what you're saying about you didn't know much about Ant-Man, I know quite a bit about Ant-Man, and so I really thought I was gonna have to be that guy who explains like, okay, this is why he did this, and this is who he is and that. But it wasn't like that at all. This movie does a great job of really explaining the character, explaining the character's motivation. They really simplified, Hank Pym and Scott Lang, and made them very, relatable characters that you could just dive right into the lore, and you don't feel like overwhelmed with all this backstory. It's just, it was really smooth.
And the fight scenes, like when you're trying to have the concept of, okay, so he shrinks down, and how is he going to fight someone like, the Falcon, or and stuff like that, where the idea of like where you're trying to wrap your head around, how that works as a superhero, and then seeing it on the screen, it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, you're definitely right on that. I mean, the action sequences. I mean, to kind of dive into the action stuff, we haven't really talked about that. They do what I loved about the action itself was it kind of fit with the character. It was comedic in its tone, but it was very serious. And they did a great job of making it, when he shrunk down, making it seem epic. Like he's sliding past a penny or something like that. And it's all slow motion and epic. And they do a good job of zooming out.
Loud. The noise is so much louder, when you're smaller.
Yeah,
so.
And you've got dust particles that are flying around, and it seems so epic. And then they always did a great job of kind of zooming out to a normal person's perspective. And like for instance, in the in the end when he fights Yellow Jacket, kind of the Thomas the Train scene on what they show in the trailer. His daughter's watching this whole thing unfold, and they're having this epic fight on the train, and it zooms out, and she's watching it. And it's two little things like jumping around, like little laser beams shooting at each other, and it's so funny. But it's so epic.
And it's just a normal train set going choo-choo, stuff like that.
And like you were saying, too, is how he shrinks, gets big, shrinks, and, so when he's fighting people who can't shrink, it's really cool. They gave him his own unique combat style, and it really works. I mean, it's really fun to watch. Every time he fights, you're just like, oh, this is awesome. Like when he's shrunk, and show this in the trailer, too, when he's shrunk and he's running down the barrel of the gun, it's so epic, and the guy's like trying to find him, and he just... Yeah, it was great. I mean, from start to finish, the movie was just awesome. I mean, there's very little I could say that I didn't like about it, but since we aren't both giving it perfect tens,
I tried to think of something, but I honestly just couldn't think of anything that at the point where we were like, oh gosh, dude, the whole thing was just fun from start to end, and I really have no disagreements about anything on it, honestly.
Well, I will say, if I had to pick out something that because like I said, I'm not giving it a perfect 10, but if I had to pick out a few things I didn't work as well for me, the villain, Marvel still keeps showing that they cannot give us a fully fleshed out villain. I loved Ultron and Age of Ultron. I thought he was one of the better villains. I mean, Loki's great, but Loki's had like 9 movies to kind of tell his story. And I can't even remember, honestly, I can't even remember the villain's name. I remember the fact that he's Yellow Jacket, but I can't even remember his actual name, and I just saw the movie last night. So he's not bad. He's not a bad villain. He's very good. He's very good for what he does, but he's kind of crazy, and they kind of give some inkling why, but they don't really dive into it that much. And at the end of
got mentor issues. That's why.
But at the end of the day, he's just pretty much. There's nothing that stands him aside from any other villain out there. I mean, he could have just been a smart Hydra thug for all we cared. I mean, he served a purpose for the movie, and that's one thing that I do wish Marvel would eventually. I would actually like to see Marvel do something like DC's doing with the Suicide Squad. I'd actually like to see a villain movie or something where they actually take a villain and really give him a good story arc and kind of grow him up. But like I said, that's my one concern. And then the police stuff, the cops trying to catch Scott Lang. I thought that was kind of didn't really need to be in the movie. You knew he was never going to go to jail, so it was never like a.
But the whole jail scene was pretty funny too. I mean, when all the ants came out.
Well, the cops almost bordered on slapstick, honestly, and so I don't know. It wasn't. It works for the movie. It's not something that takes you out of the movie. But if I had to pick a couple weak points, I'd have to say the whole kind of cop subplot and the villain definitely needed to be a little more fleshed out. But that's it. Other than that, it was a great movie. I loved it.
Yeah, I honestly recommend it for anybody.
Oh yeah, highly recommend it. So
I don't know if I put a restriction on kids' age.
No.
I mean,
there's a couple swear words in it,
but.
There's a couple bad words, but that's about it. I mean,
They said shit a bunch of times.
And then they said ass hat, but it was only hat.
That kid's scared for me. So
I also recommend, I don't know about you, but I also recommend seeing it in 3D. I usually don't, but I thought this movie was really, really good in 3D, especially the way he kept shrinking and growing. It really, I thought the third dimension added an extra level to this movie.
Yeah, well, the 3D was pretty. It was better for me than it was for Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
Age of Ultron 3D was kind of harder for me. Um, but yeah, I did. This one was a lot better than Age of Ultron. At least I just don't. I'm a 2D movie. I don't like seeing stuff in 3D. So
Yeah, well, it can be hard. Like I said, I'm not a big 3D fan either. We've talked about that at length, but this one I really liked, especially when there's a part where somebody, no spoilers here, goes into the macro universe. I don't know. He shrinks down to nothing. Up, and we lost Ryan. You still there? There you are.
still here. Okay.
We're having Ant-Man issues on our connectivity.
Yes.
Where someone shrinks down into the macro universe, and it's pretty cool. On 3D, it was kind of jumped out, and I don't know. I liked it. It was pretty cool. I would recommend seeing it in 3D. I think it's worth seeing in 3D.
Definitely at least see it in IMAX.
Yes, definitely see it in IMAX. It is really good in IMAX. That's about it. So I guess we'll move on. Unless you got something else you want to say, we can give our final grades.
How many times can we just say it's awesome? I mean,
Yeah, it's pretty much awesome. So I guess I'll go first. Or you want? Tell you what, Ryan, you go first. What is your
I gotta
review?
go first. I'll give it an 8.5. I'll give 8.5 dancing ants. How about that?
Dancing
Out of a
Ants,
scale of 10 dancing ants.
nice.
Or I'll say 8.5. And I don't know why I'm not giving it a perfect 10, just because I don't like give stuff perfect 10. So, it's losing points for. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 9.
You gonna give it a 9?
I'll just call it good. I'll give it a 9.
We'll come around.
I
All
can't
right,
think of anything bad about it. I'm just being a
Well-
stickler, and I don't want to give it a 10.
All right. You don't have to give it a 10. So because Ryan stole my thunder with a 9, I'm gonna give it a 9.25 out of 10. It's a great movie from start to finish. I laughed my ever-loving ass off for the entire thing. It is probably the most fun I've had in the movie theater this year, and that includes Jurassic World and obviously Age of Ultron. Ant-Man does a great job of condensing the story into a small story. It fits the character perfectly. They don't get too, they don't get too heavy with the lore of Marvel, and it's a great movie. I mean, it's a great self-contained movie. If you've never seen a Marvel movie, you can still watch this, be completely enthralled, and know everything that's going on, which is not an easy point for Marvel these days because they have so much continuum in their movies. But I loved it. It's a hilarious, fun action thrill ride that will not disappoint. I mean, I always expect Marvel movies to be good, but I did not expect it to be this good. So,
Well said.
well said. Last thing I want to say real quick too is I don't want to give away anything in the stingers. There are 2, so make sure you stick around through the credits.
Yes.
At this point,
There's
though, I feel
one-
like if you
there's
go to
one credit, and then there's one at the end credits.
But at this point, I do feel like if you go to a Marvel movie and you don't stick through the credits, that's just on you, man. I don't even know what to say.
You shouldn't even be going to the movies.
So
If you're
I
not
do want to
waiting.
know one thing. We could not figure out, and without giving any spoilers away, please hit us up on Twitter or on Facebook or get back to us somehow. If you could figure out, there's a character at the very end of the trailer who has their arm stuck in something. We could not figure out what it was stuck in, and we would really like to know. So if any of you
Yes.
out there know, let us know.
If there's any super nerds that like to watch us,
Yeah,
then,
we'll give you a shout out
you
on the
can-
Geek Dad Report. And
yeah, and that's a very important thing.
that's a big thing. Oh, yeah.
It's worth at least 2 gold stars
Oh
on
my
the
God.
Geek Dad Report chart.
Don't say that. Phil will be angry. He's already angry. He wanted to cash in his stars to go see Ant-Man.
Sorry, Phil. We only had 2 tickets, and it was only for press. So
Sorry, Phil. So, I don't know. You got anything else to say?
I don't know. Ant-Man has a lot of great, like they take pieces from all their other, especially from Avengers, and so there's a lot of like inside jokes and all that kind of stuff. So if you're watching it, kind of pay attention to. They do a lot of those kind of things throughout the movie. So
Oh yeah, and there's
for the people that picked them up, then it's just adds more to the dynamic of that you're there is a big huge universe that doing all this. So
no. So, all right. Yeah,
That's
definitely.
it.
Pay attention. There's a lot of little fun stuff. And I will add one last thing. This is exactly what I hope Spider-Man is like, other than maybe a little bit grander, but this is what Spider-Man needs to be like. So I got excited for Spider-Man
good
watching Ant-Man.
snappy dialogue and
Smart-ass hero. Great action. So, I don't know. What are you guys doing? Why are you still watching us? Why aren't you going to see Ant-Man? Go see Ant-Man right now. Go.
yes, go see Ant-Man.
Don't walk. Run. Take your kids. You'll enjoy it. We promise.
Take some ants.
No, don't take any ants. All right, man. Well,
Your ant.
all right, guys. Well, we'll see you tomorrow on our normal scheduled time for the Geek Dad Report. But until then, go see Ant-Man. 9.25 out of 10.
Enjoy
awesome.
it.
Later.
Ant-terrific.
Antacular.
It's not anticlimactic for sure.
It's... Damn it, you got me. All right. Later, guys.